everyone.
All right. So that was a pain in the butt.
You're in the making, and yeah, that's what we get for it taking a year for us to go back at this again.
Yeah. So sorry about that, everybody. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we broke something or whatever, but I had to fix some stuff with this YouTube.
It's a conspiracy.
Twitch is so much easier. You just connect your account with OBS and it just works. YouTube, you connect your account, it doesn't do anything, but you have to maybe you have to reset the stream key every single time. It's the weirdest annoying thing. Like, why can Twitch do it, but why can't YouTube? Anyway, we're doing direct to YouTube this time, so it's a little different. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about get kind of a lowdown on what's going on in this episode.
Okay, yeah, I like that idea.
Okay, so let me just double check, make sure everything's working. Make sure.
And then after that, we will introduce ourselves again.
Okay, sounds like our volumes are really good. I like that. Okay. Well, Kelly, yeah, so let me just, okay, there we go. Okay. Well, so I brought this topic to you the other day. I'm going to kind of move a little bit so we can.
By the other day, he means today.
Yes. But I mean, okay, so I did bring this up months ago.
Fair point.
But I didn't elaborate on it that much. So here's the thing. We've been gone for a year, which is funny because I made the title of the YouTube video 10/22. It was 10/12 last year. Was the last episode. Ooh. So we actually could just say, oh no, it's not been a year, it's just been a week.
It's just 10 days.
Yeah, just 10 days. It's only been a week or whatever. Yeah. That's fine. So conspiracy theories, that is the thing that I brought up to. And you were like we're just going to cover one or two, and I said no, we're going to cover all of them. And now here's the thing is and I keep looking over here because this is where we can see that we're actually in shot, and there's the camera. So I might need to switch the camera over here at some point, maybe up there. That might be a little easier next time. Anyway, I thought about that during my stream the other day as well. But so, okay, when I say all of them, I don't mean actually all of them. What I mean is we're going to go through a list. We're going to rank them on a tier list, and we're also going to put them on an efficacy list. And what I mean by that is we're kind of going to go by how likely to how unlikely.
Oh, okay.
And the thing that really brought this to my attention was a post that I saw the other day. And I apologize if this is not the right thing, but from Tophology, so credit goes to this person, not to me. This amazing chart. Now, it's got a lot of stuff on it. Let me drag it over here so that you can see it a little bit better, Kelly.
I appreciate that. I want to talk about Pizzagate. Ooh, pizza.
So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of look through a few of these and see, we're going to talk about what they are quickly. We're going to talk about
which ones we've actually heard of versus which ones we have not heard of.
I mean, I've heard of basically all of these.
You are much more interested in this topic.
We're going to see the efficacy as in how likely it is and what's the best possible, is this possible? And if it's possible, what is the best shot they got of it being possible, right? If I'm a conspiracy.
Which ones are you actually going to convert me to start wearing tinfoil on my head?
Yeah. And okay, here's the thing. Tinfoil actually does protect against radio waves. The thing is, though, they're still bouncing under the hat. Unless you can put tinfoil on your neck. It's really funny because they now sell these Faraday cages for your routers, which is so weird because it's okay, you have Wi-Fi in your house, and now you're going to make it worse by putting a Faraday cage around it. Faraday cage is basically tinfoil, imagine, which is as good as putting tinfoil around it. So it's kind of funny because isn't that the point of your router? I don't get it. I don't understand these people.
Oh goodness.
Yes.
All right, so should we start off the top? You're probably going to have to look up a couple of these, or I can be prepared to look up a couple.
And I'm gonna talk about them real quick.
Okay.
And then we're gonna again give it kind of the best
5-minute overview or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we might even do like a little
Leaving reality. I love
paint
this.
trick. Yeah. So let's kind of get started. So
No return.
you've heard of MK Ultra, right?
I'd need to be familiarized. I mean, I think I mean, when I hear MK Ultra, I think of Michelle Khare,
I don't know
who's
who
a
that is.
YouTuber.
Okay.
She's, I don't know if she's ever run an ultra, but
Yeah.
she's
Go ahead.
just an insane YouTuber who does amazing challenges and worth
We're
looking
not
at.
talking about that kind of ultra.
No.
I promise. Okay, so MK Ultra, and I'm just going to go by the quick Wikipedia thing here. So Project MK Ultra was an illegal human experimentation program. Illegal meaning, is it legal? If the United States does it, is it illegal? That's a question you got to answer. And conspiracy nuts, of course, will say like, oh, the government, the big government, fear the government, and all that stuff. Okay. Anyway, experimentation program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency intended to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used in interrogations to weaken individuals and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. So using a lot of different drugs to like make your if you take LSD is like a big one, I think. So like LSD and other drugs here, like to kind of make you like flip out and think you're like somewhere where you can like tell the truth, or and some other stuff like that. Basically like it's like mind control, man, or that's what people say. But and like this is something that happened, right? So again, down here this has actually happened. That's what the awesome thing about this chart is. It actually gives you a really good list of what these things are. I'm going to bring up the chat here so we can we know what if there's anybody we got to respond to here. But anyway, so if you're looking at this, so MK Ultra actually happened, right? Like the CIA tried to get people to confess and other things and like discuss what was going on. And the thing is, this was also done to normal people. So like, it actually hurt people, right? Because there are people out there today that are like, or maybe not today, but like, that were fucked up from it. A lot of there are some movie series and movies, specifically TV series, movies, whatever, that are based on like, oh, this person was like in MK Ultra and like, they, what is it called? Like they have superhuman traits, or now they're like really fucked up because of it, or like whatever, like they were like an MK Ultra experiment, man. Like that there's a bunch of movies and TV shows. I think what is it called? The Stranger Things. I think that actually is one of them that has that as like a this is like MK Ultra time kind of thing. Anyway,
in the upside down.
So that's an example of things that actually happen. Now I don't want to go through a lot of these that actually happen, because we're talking about stuff that is out there.
Actually, a conspiracy, right?
Yeah. So I want to go over.
Hashtag free Britney. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Yeah. So okay. So let's go up here a little bit. And this says like relieving reality and stuff. I think this gives a really good idea of like what. Excuse me. Of what's going on. So let's do UFOs. I'm going to talk about UFOs real quick. There is such a thing called a UFO.
Yes.
It is unidentified flying object. It doesn't matter what it is until you know what it is.
Yeah.
That is what it's for. So if I threw a ball in the air and you didn't know it was a ball, it's a UFO. If I take a drone, cover it in cellophane to make it look like, I don't know, like a sparkly diamond, and fly it around, you don't know what that is. It's a UFO. So the stupid thing for me is that people will go, UFO, aliens. But that's not what UFO means. UFO means unidentified. It's the same thing with the military. So if the military sees in their thermal scanners, right, their thermal cameras, they see, excuse me, geez, they see a something flying in their thermal cameras. They say UFO because they do not know what it is. until they know what it is. Until you have any confirmation about what it is, you don't know. You could guess, you could make up stories, you could make up excuses or whatever, but you don't know.
Right. So the conspiracy here is related to specifically, my presumption would be the presence of extraterrestrial life. I mean, it's hard to say because you have things like alien abduction, aliens building Stonehenge, crop circles, Roswell. All of these are references to extraterrestrial life. So UFOs, specifically, why are they being listed here as opposed to, anything else? And is it because of the fact that UFOs does actually have a true definition of being an unidentified flying object?
I think because people in their brain, they go UFO, alien. They don't go UFO, I don't know what that thing is. That's just a designation. They go UFO,
Do you think it was
alien.
more relevant, though, in like the 1980s than it is today? I feel like people are starting to veer away from that now as a result of
I don't think so.
access to the internet.
Well, because things like some of the other stuff we have up here, people go, oh, UFO, that means they immediately go like, the military saw a UFO, aliens. They don't go UFO. Okay, well, what is it? Let's try to figure out what it is. This video here, U.S. military shares video filmed by Navy officers, right? So this one made the rounds for a while, and you can literally see these instruments are actually telling you data. And people watch this that are ignorant and they don't know what this stuff means. So what you have is they don't know what it is because they don't actually know. Until you can tell 100%, hey, this thing is this, you don't know. And you don't make an assumption. That military does not make an assumption until it knows. You can make a guess, but the military does not guess.
Right.
So scientists don't either.
Right.
So what they go, it's a UFO. Okay. They don't go, it's aliens. Right? That's the distinction. When you think UFO, you can't think aliens. And a lot of people do. It's unfortunate. But what this was is probably a goose.
The bird itself.
It's a bird. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool.
And you can see, like, it's got, like, wings, a little head, and then tails.
Yeah, I kind of do. It's like flapping down.
Well, no. So what it was, like, swooping down. And because it's going really, really fast, and the jet was, like, flying past it, it looked like it was going super fast because you have the jet speed and you have the speed of the goose or whatever the freak it was, right? It could have been an owl. It could have been any flying creature. Now here's the thing that I want to get into. Okay, let's say instead we're thinking aliens, right?
Okay.
Or let's give it another description. Let's say it's not a bird. It's not a bug. It's not something in the glass. It's something physically there, right? What is the likelihood of it being aliens? So there's a good video by let me look it up just so everybody can see a really good YouTube video.
Sure.
I'm not gonna actually play it, but we're gonna find out who it is. When is it aliens? PBS Space Time.
Oh yeah, I love that channel.
This video is really good.
Yeah.
Because it literally says how to know if it's aliens. And the thing is, and maybe we're going to go up into this later, like alien Stonehenge, alien abductions.
There's so many on here that are alien related.
Yeah, like alien related.
Even within that category itself with UFOs, you also have Roswell and Area 51.
Area 51. Now, so here's the thing. It is so unlikely that aliens have come here. It is more likely than almost anything has happened. The only thing that would be less unlikely is a miracle. And what I mean by miracle is like a supernatural occurrence, right? It's like if you just were like, okay, you are dead and you resurrected, right?
You introduced me to a book though that talked about like a microscopic space organism that could come and, it's microscopic, right? It's on the scale of a cell, let's say, or perhaps a little larger than that, like a spore. But it came from somewhere else.
Yeah. So,
and then it's a living thing, like a spore, but it's inanimate. It's not sentient.
Yeah.
And so it's...
What I mean by it's so unlikely to be aliens, right? So miracle is like one step ahead. So I'm going to put this... We're just going to put this up here, right? Miracle.
You need it larger for me to see. I don't know about you all.
Okay.
I'm a blind girl.
There we go. Miracle. Can you see that?
Yes, now I see that.
Okay. Miracle is so far out of range, right? It is unlikely for any kind of miracle ever to possibly be the resolution. So when somebody says, "Oh, they got out of their deathbed, they were not supposed to get out of they weren't supposed to get back up. That's a miracle." That's not the case, right? They're saying it very like nonchalantly, but the thing is, an actual miracle is so unlikely to be the case. Miracle imposes supernatural, imposes gods, it imposes, God coming down and touching you and making it happen. It is more likely that that person got out of their deathbed, that it was their body healing itself. And the doctors didn't understand that it would do that, right?
And then we learned. Is there an actual scale for what makes like a miracle versus other things?
Well, that's the thing. That's the word miraculous, right? Try to spell things correctly on stream, Miracle is an event that is inexplicable by natural or scientific laws and accordingly gets attributed to some supernatural or paternal cause. I think it's paternal.
Well, so, who is our father?
It is above nature. We cannot describe it. So by definition, it is the most unlikely thing to happen. Okay. The second most unlikely thing to happen is aliens. And what I mean by aliens, I don't mean the spore kind that you were talking about. What I mean,
you're talking about the sentient kind who
I'm talking about what kind
care about trying to get in touch with us.
Yeah, not even getting in touch, but coming here. Yeah. Like for us to get to the closest,
the Roswell one.
Yeah, for us to get to the closest star system would take tens of thousands of years at our current speed. And imagine 10,000 years ago, Egypt was just starting to exist 10,000 years ago. Right? And Egypt is one of the oldest civilizations, right? And I mean like ancient Egypt, right?
Yeah, the pyramid builders.
Yeah. Like Cleopatra lived closer to us than the beginning of the first pyramid, which is crazy to think about. But again, so you're thinking 10,000 years. What have we done in 10,000 years? Imagine how long we could do in 40,000 years aboard a spaceship. How much things would change. Like, what do we know today that lasts 40,000 years? Stone. That's about it. Right? Like, that's the only thing we can think about that lasts that long. Now, granted, you could get to another star in a lot quicker time, maybe 100 years. With nuclear-powered bomb, the Orion spaceship craft design. So basically what this is I know I'm the one dumping a lot of information here, so I apologize.
Looking at the screen, I'm like, this is just a perfect example of how Alex's brain works right now.
So this is Project Orion. NASA conceptualized this, I believe. I don't know if that's 100% true. Don't quote me on that. But basically, you put a ship together in space. I guess you could do it on Earth, but I don't know that you would want to. And then you throw a nuclear bomb out the back, have a giant lead shield behind you, and it blows up and pushes you forward. And then this pusher plate springs into the ship, which pushes you down. And then you throw another one behind, and another one, and another one, and another one. And you can get pretty fast. You can get a good portion of the speed of light and get to Alpha Centauri in 100 years.
Wow, that's really cool.
Here's the thing. Now people say, oh, well, what is their special technology and blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. We can't guess that there's going to be a special technology to make us go faster than light, or that can teleport us around the universe, or wormholes. We haven't seen any of that stuff. We could posit it all we want, but like, just because you said it's possible doesn't mean that it happened. It's less likely than a miracle, right? You know, things that are out of science's purview right now are less likely than aliens and more likely than a miracle. Because again, a miracle is supernatural. It just happens and we can't explain it ever, right? But things that are outside of science, and what I'm saying is current science, right? Because we have tested the laws of gravity, the laws of physics, the laws of what?
I'm sorry, I just saw another one of the conspiracy theories. Mattress firm. I'm really curious as to what the conspiracy is there.
Anyway, my whole point in this is to bring up that aliens to get to us is an incredible difficulty. It is beyond difficult.
Yes.
And people, when they say aliens, they're like, oh, well, it could happen. Yeah, just like anything could technically happen. Right. But does that mean it did happen? Is that the most likely explanation? The most likely explanation for the photo of the from the Navy was a bird.
Right.
You're right. Like, that's the most likely explanation. Does it matter that they call it a UFO? No, because the UFO is just a designation.
Right.
So that's why, if we go back to Area 51, for example, so, you know, Area 51, it's a place in the desert that has a bunch of military technology. Do you think that they want you to just go there and do it? Like, Roswell isn't even close to Area 51. Like, it's not the same place. People confuse the two all the time. But like, is it not thoughtful that the military is like, yeah, stay away because we want to protect our secrets, so that in case okay, here's the thing. So very recently there have been a lot of like people dropping. So there's a game called World of Tanks.
Love it already.
It's this game where you jump in a tank and you can drive around and shoot things, right? You shoot other tanks, you drive on a map. It's kind of like COD, Call of Duty, right?
Yeah,
but it's with
COD.
tanks.
Okay, respect.
So some military people play this game.
Okay.
And so the thing is, they get into arguments on the forums. And they get into like, oh no, the shell would have breached, you know, his tank at whatever angle,
like
whatever
the accuracy
velocity.
behind it is invalid because of.
Okay, sounds good. And to win these debates, some of these military people have actually posted full-on like Pentagon documentation of these shells and other things on there.
Oh, that's a big no-no.
And first thought, you're like, oh, that's not so bad. But then you're like, wait a minute. You just posted top secret information online for all to see just to prove a point in a game. Now, you know, you work with it every day. You want to be right. Pride. Yeah, there you go. Ego. But the thing here is that the military obviously takes offense to this. Like they are, you know, like against these people immediately. Like they're immediately fired. Like they're going to be, you know, investigated by all kinds of different branches of the United States, right? They're going to be like in contempt. It's going to be a problem.
It's the same thing we see all the time. It doesn't even have to go as far as, you know, Area 51 is withholding, you know, extraterrestrial information. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But there's so many components that go into it, from safety, from is this information that's actually going to be worthy of publishing, or is it research that is controversial at best and your tax dollars are going towards it, and we want to make sure you know before we go sharing it too much. I think about a park that my father used to take me to when we were growing up near the Toby Hanna Army Depot. And because it was an Army depot, there were warnings all over it. And there were times where the park would be closed because you would go there and you would be picking up bullet shells and grenade pieces. And sometimes you would pick up an entire grenade shell because so much of it stayed intact because the pin pulled and something went wrong with the grenade. Well, they were testing those grenades. We don't know why. We don't know if it's the latest model. We don't get that information. It's an army depot. We're not allowed to know. We're just the public. But, we would go there. We would walk around. It was a beautiful little park to be at. But there are reasons why they don't want you walking there at certain times of the year. It's for your own safety as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think immediately it's not about safety, and safety is an excuse. And it goes beyond that.
It's ridiculous.
Right. But it's not the only reason. You're not wrong to say that it goes beyond safety, because it does. But it is another thing to keep in mind. And another thing is, like, we see this all the time. It's just usually not on the same scale as Area 51. I think about the mountain bike race community that I'm become a big fan of in the past year. And the UCI mountain bike racers, they are on prototype bikes that they're racing on. And then they have these tents at the end of the races where you can go and speak to the mechanics and the racers themselves and the other members of the biking team.
That's really cool.
But you don't get to learn about the bikes.
Yeah.
They're withholding the information because they're still prototypes. They're still under engineering. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's because they may not be done engineering it and tiptoeing and changing these minute details. Why are they testing these bikes on the best racers in the world during the best racing season? And the reason is because who better to test them? Because those racers are going to be as honed in on the finest details. And
here we're gonna start a conspiracy. It's gonna be conspiracy theory. It's gonna be it's biking on.
It's biking on.
They're testing these on these athletes because then those athletes aren't going to be able to breed, and so we're not going to have any strong humans anymore. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be.
I do remember Adam getting really upset because he wanted to know what the Continental racer was riding for his tires, because Continental tires are one of the most well-known and well-engineered tires out on the mountain biking community right now, the market. And he was really hoping that he could get his eyes on the latest model and the latest information, the latest engineering on the tread, the grooves, the angles. He wanted all the specs. We get to the Continental tent and we got the signatures from the racers. It's a really fun time, but the tires cannot be found. And we were like, why is this under lock and key? Because they're still engineering it yet. They're not ready for it to launch. There could be a multitude of reasons for it. The same thing goes with Area 51. There's information that comes out of Area 51 that we know of and we can look up today. But what they don't want us to know, there's a lot of reasons behind it, and it's not aliens.
Yeah, and it's multifaceted, because you think about it, and the reason that it's prototype, why would they want you to know, is because the business has something to do with it. What if their prototype fucks up? They don't want you to know the actual stats to get into legal action, and just with bike tires. But same with Area 51. If they have a big problem, they can sweep it under the rug. Now, of course, that's possible. Of course, and it's probably likely that there are a few cases that have been swept under the rug. Mm-hmm. Do you think anything big has been swept under the rug? I doubt it. Is it more likely that something big has been swept under the rug, or there just isn't a lot of big things? Now, here's the thing. There's a difference, because some of it is security related. And what that means is, what if Russia wanted to go to war against the United States, but knew exactly how much penetration all of our bullets did, right?
Yeah.
They could then go, okay, we're going to build armor that's better than all of your bullets. And now they fight us and we lose.
Exactly.
Right? That's it. That's
so many flying parts that we don't know of, because the world is a very fragile place, in all honesty. And it's one of our places where we keep a lot of our information secured in a way that we are protected.
The best about Area 51, I could say, is they're probably working on some next generation stuff. Mm-hmm. They're probably working on some stuff that some people can't even think about right now.
But if you were to tell me that the information that in Area 51 is withholding information about extraterrestrial life more than what's available at SpaceX or NASA, I'm going to be questioning your sanity there, because it's on the same scale. It's just one is guarded a little more heavily due to the fact that it's related to military
and special military base. Mm-hmm. So what?
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing. So there are plenty of alien stories and videos and things you can look up, and these videos and stories and whatever aren't like, you look at them and it's like this person's like, yeah, well, 5 other people came with me. Like, okay, how can I test that all of you weren't on drugs? How can I test that all of you weren't changing what you actually thought about it? How can I test that this police officer didn't help you guys do this? How can I test that it wasn't an experimental vehicle? How can I test that it wasn't some test from some billionaire? How can I test any of these things? Any of these possibilities are more likely, like by a million tons, than an alien encounter. Like an actual aliens come down from space and then do something here. That is way more likely. Any of those things are more likely.
We have the alien zoo in Area 51. The Stargate reference.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you throw around these words and it's like, okay, well, let's actually talk about what's possible here, right? Like a normal American person walking around, what is possible? The problem here again is what I think happens in a lot of people's heads is they confuse UFO with aliens, and then they go, well, Area 51 is secure, and so like, why would they want to secure that? It's like, well, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to secure normal stuff?
Well, and let's not also take out the main factor of the power of the media. And when people get photos and video clippings of obscure things and then they let it get released in the media, if the media finds that it grabs the attention of the audience enough, they're going to feed off of that and they're going to make it even larger. And if they can continue to get that feedback and have it grow, then they are getting money off of it. They're getting more interest off of it. And that's the purpose of it. Yeah. And that's, to me, a big role in at least Roswell and Area 51. I wouldn't necessarily go with UFOs, but I would actually go and say all of the above.
I would agree, yeah. And like, there are plenty of like alien sightings, alien abductions, like it says here, aliens
there's
still ahead.
A noticeable audience who really get a kick out of hearing that. Even if you are not someone who is actually a believer, there are still people who are always even just humorously amused by
I'm
this.
not trying to say that it's not aliens. What I'm trying to say is the same thing as that PBS space-time video
the likelihood of it
is, how do we know it's not aliens? Because every other option is more likely. Every other option.
Yeah.
And like, again, I'm not trying to be like, people are just gonna say, oh, well, you just don't believe, man, or you're already closed off to it. It's not that I'm closed off to it. I would love aliens to be like actually here, coming here, and like,
if anyone would want this to be
animals.
reality, it would be somebody like you.
I would love it. But I want to go to fucking space. Are you
Truth
kidding me?
is, we're all on a Dyson sphere right now. We just don't know it.
Do you know what that is?
Only because of reading.
You can't go on a Dyson sphere.
Oh. Pandora Star didn't get into that depth yet. I'm guessing that's part of the sequel.
I don't want to go over Dyson spheres in this video.
No, we will go over Dyson spheres when we go over Pandora's Star.
Are we going to go over that book? I don't know.
A lot in that book. I feel like I can't go into that until I read the sequel
or
read it. You should. At least just allow people to see how much of a nerd you are that you actually own the physical copy of this.
I had to buy it. I had to.
You had to.
I'm like, hey, no.
It's an amazing book. If any of you are hyper nerds, we highly recommend.
Highly recommended. Pandora's Star.
Do you remember the name of the author?
It flew out of my head already.
Well, I'm ready to start talking about some of the ones in the pink.
Yes.
Specifically, I have a question for you. I want you to take a second and look at the ones in the pink, and I want you to tell me, as even a kid, were any of the ones in here something that you believed in? Because now we're starting to leave reality, but I feel like when you were a kid,
let's clarify.
Some of these were tempting to consider.
Let's clarify. Crop circles.
Yeah.
Believe in. Okay, here's the difference between what we're talking about here, and this is again what I want to clarify for the audience.
Yeah.
Belief is truth without or proof without evidence. You don't have any evidence. You don't know it for sure. You just believe it to be true. I don't believe, by the truest definition, I don't believe evolution's true. I know evolution is true.
I was gonna say you're getting ahead of us. Flat Earth is above.
Well, flat Earth has nothing to do with evolution. But what I'm talking about is that, like, evolution is descriptive. We describe what we see, and we call that description evolution. The description is what item is. You know, like, I can tell you what like, if I said table, in your mind, you flash through your head all kinds of different tables. But if I said coffee table, now you have a specific definition. So if I say that's a coffee table, you'll go, or this desk that we're on right now is a coffee table. You'll go, no, it's not. That's not what a coffee table is. I don't believe that that's a coffee table.
What makes a coffee table a coffee table? If I put a cup of coffee on here, is it right?
The definition does. And the definition of evolution is what we see when we look at creatures and we see the differences between them, right? And we see the different morphologies, and we follow the branching tree, and we check DNA evidence, we check evidence in the ground, we check all that stuff. That's what we see. Whether or not you want to believe that that's how it happened. You could be a last Tuesdayist, which a last Tuesdayism is basically saying, oh, well, God could have created us last Tuesday with all our memories and thoughts and everything in the ground. And
yeah.
You'd
never know the
that
difference.
could have happened. But is that likely to have happened? Maybe. But you're never going to be able to prove it.
I feel like you and I covered that in some type of a game.
In a game?
That we watched together. Not Soma, but around the same time you briefly went over it.
I don't know. Anyway, my point being that crop circles, do I believe that crop circles are around? Yeah, we have proof of crop circles being there. The implication is crop circles being like aliens touching down, right?
Correct.
That
Not made
the implication
by
here.
mankind or some weather-induced event like a dust, whatever those called, the dust
whatever.
storms.
Now, here's the thing. There could be easily some person going out there, spinning their tires in a field, knocking down all of the corn, and now it's a circle. In crops, it's a crop circle. Somebody could be like, I didn't see any tracks, so it's not a car, and like, that's a crop circle. Right? If somebody goes out there and lays down the corn or wheat or whatever it is, it's a crop circle. It doesn't matter. Like, that is what it's called. It doesn't matter the implication of aliens or whatever.
Same
so like,
thing as a
again,
UFO.
they exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
However, what I'm thinking here is, and I'm looking at things like alien abductions, the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot,
Oh, well, here's the thing.
Elvis dying or still being alive today. When you
God.
looked at these, when you were like 10 or 8, highly influential, and perhaps first hearing of some of these things, were any of these that you see in that, just the pink area, any of them that you ever thought may have been true or
okay, so
wanted
here's
to
the
be
thing.
true?
Again, everybody told me like aliens were a thing, and it's like, how do you know that aliens are a thing? So as an influential, or not influential, but like a kid that just sucks things up like a sponge, I was like, yeah, okay, they told me aliens exist. I guess aliens could exist, possible, but like that doesn't mean it's probable.
You're telling me that even at like 8 years old,
Bigfoot, I thought might have been a thing, some kind of cryptids, like we don't see creatures in the woods, and aliens built Stonehenge, Stargate, landing platforms, pyramids, like Stargate. Like, I was fully on board. I was like, and that fits into Area 51. Like, I was like, hey, Area 51, right? Like, that's in Stargate, right? Like, I was fully on board with that.
I particularly was a big fan of Loch Ness Monster. I really wanted Nessie to be when I was a little girl, because, you know, there were just, I think there were a couple of movies at the same time that were starting to come out about Nessie and kind of things like that. And
there were a few early 2000s, late 90s things,
And so behind that, and I think also like Jurassic Park and some of the other dinosaur-esque
science
culture,
adjacent.
That was a big one for me, that I just kind of like knew in my head the likelihood of a monster existing in a small area that long for such a long time. The likelihood of it was just not true.
So here, I want to talk about Bigfoot real quick. So there are kids that go out in the woods and all the time doing all kinds of crazy shit. There are, like, you know Alex Jones, right? You don't know who Alex Jones is? Okay. He's an absolute spanner. I'm going to call him a spanner. He is one of the worst people on the planet. He's got $926 million lawsuit against him because he called the people that died in Sandy Hook all actors.
Oh.
The Sandy Hook murders from like an elementary school.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Anyway, he called them all actors. So $926 million in law fees. Or like not law fees, but like he has to pay those people. Anyway, it just came out. That was really recent. Anyway, so why did I bring up Alex Jones?
Bigfoot.
Okay, so his influence told people, like he had people literally like stalk people, like the people in Sandy Hook. This is one of the reasons
That's deplorable.
This is one of the reasons that like there was a judgment against him for that much, right? Because these people are like suffering like catastrophic things because people would like come to town and tell them like you're fake, right? And like a lot of them had like their kids like graves pissed on and stuff.
Oh my god!
Like literally defecated on and stuff, and it's absolutely deplorable. That's what people do, right? People will go out of their way to try to prove something, to try to like say something's true, to just fuck around, right?
So you believe that there are people who are keeping the myth of
if I say,
Bigfoot alive?
If it comes out that like, oh yeah, there's Bigfoot feet in this area, do you not think that there's kids, at least kids, teenagers, like, oh, we got some time, we're gonna go out in the woods and play around. Hey, we see a hiker over there, let's go scare him.
Absolutely, without a doubt. In fact, every year there's a few articles that come out of teenagers or other people who are exactly doing that, because you can still go around the Himalayas is where Bigfoot is, right?
I mean, Appalachians.
No.
I think you might be talking about like Yeti.
Oh, Yeti is Himalaya.
There's a lot of different. Like,
okay, but same difference. Okay, wherever he's located at, absolutely. I know you can go and find tourist shops, gift shops, and stuff around there where you can actually buy like the huge, big feet to put on and buy them, and they're like hairy and stuff.
If you
take them out into the woods one day, you'd go ahead and walk around with them, and now people are going to think they found
like
Bigfoot
if your
tracks.
town is known for Bigfoot, and you like your shop,
it's a marketable thing.
Could you not even think like the shop owner is going to go out there and like start like freaking people out at night? Like, why not? Why wouldn't you?
Right.
It's a business, right? Like, okay, now I'm not saying that everything is. Here's the thing: a lot of these have a lot of not really needing to be explained information.
No, the people we get off of like the stories. There's sometimes people who don't care, even if they know the likelihood of it's not true. They don't care. They want to believe because it's just nicer to believe. Think about H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, I mean, well, imagine you have a field. Yeah. You're a farmer. You have a field, and you wake up one morning, and the field's empty of your crops. All the corn is cut down, right? Like, okay, now you could say, oh, it's a conspiracy, right? Somebody's stealing my fucking corn, right? Like the producers are trying to steal my corn, or the people who buy the corn stole it from me, or whatever. But what if I could prove to you there were 3 kids that walked out there, stole a bushel of corn, and then somebody else walked out there and accidentally lit a fire and burnt down half the field. And then somebody else walked out there and grabbed like a bucket full because like they needed some corn because they were starving. And maybe a few other people went out there because they just wanted to fuck around and just tossed a bunch of corn all over the place.
All in the same night?
Yeah. What if I could prove to you that happened? You'd be like, well, why would all these people do that? What I see in a lot of these is it could be a billion different little things that everybody just clumping together and causing to be one incident. The incident is your corn was stolen. Your corn is gone. That is the incident. But the thing is, it's like one of these, right?
Like
UFOs.
the Avril Lavigne,
UFOs,
Beatles, and Elvis ones, or
well, no,
the ones we talked about.
So like UFOs, right? People could be seeing birds. There are people who don't even know what the fucking moon looks like at night, which is weird. But the
it's
Milky
weird
Way,
to us,
yes,
but not necessarily weird to people who live in
people that don't
smog-ridden
understand
cities or
exactly. People don't understand like
visibility.
you can see Mars and Venus and stuff, and when they do, they're like, "What is that?" Right? People don't even realize when you drive out in the middle of nowhere, you can see the Milky Way. Like people,
I remember taking people, like friends from DC and places like that, and then they first came to visit me in Lancaster, and we take them outside into the cornfields to look up in the sky, and they're like, whoa.
yeah, like people, like you can see reflections in the sky. You can see planes in the sky, drones nowadays, balloons. You can see all kinds of stuff. And all these things, these little things, birds flying, having weird, you could have tags on birds. We tag birds.
Yeah.
They could be shining lights, and you could see a bird going loop-de-loop. Oh, whoa, whoa, he flew away really fast. Woo! Right? There could be 1,000 incidents that happen. And to explain every one of them is insignificant, right? It's so easy to explain all of these things.
Right.
Just like saying, one person took a piece of corn here, and one person took a bucket here, and a truck here, and they burnt down half the field here. And you could have all these little things, but you call it one big thing because they're all sort of the same. That's what I see as Bigfoot, right? You get these kids going out in the woods sometimes. You have these bushwhackers who are out in the woods. You have people who are jailbirds out in the woods.
Yeah, I think that is one of the latest that I had heard was a lot of people believe that Bigfoot is jailbreakers.
Like, it could just be somebody who's like, I don't want that person near my tent. I'm camped right here. I just fled jail 20 years ago. I'm still hiding. I don't want that person near me. What if they like take a piss in the middle of the night and see my spot? I'm going to try to scare them away. So I'm going to try to make noises and like grunts and growls. And like, are you not kidding me? Like that could like, right? Like, there are so many little things that could contribute to this. It could be somebody, there was a growling sound. Well, it was a bear, and the bear just walked away because they're not going to come towards you, not normally, right? And there could be all these things that are all clumped into one. Now, I do want to talk about some of the other ones that are more uncommon. Loch Ness Monster, for example, right? There are so many creatures that are in like water that people don't realize are in water. People think fish, and people think like normal fish, right? Have you ever seen those videos of sunfish?
I think so.
So, and a lot of them, people are like, "Oh my God, what does that fish look like that? They're really weird looking, and like that's not a fish. That's got to be something else." But it's just a weird old as in like, it's a very old lineage of a type of fish. Yeah. There are all kinds of creatures out there that look really weird.
Based on evolution, that species have also drastically gone down in size over time.
I wouldn't
certain ones
say it depends on what they are. Evolution is this
whales,
tree.
Whales were a lot more common,
diverse,
yes. And they're not as common anymore. And
survival of the fittest. The fittest for the environment that they
huge. You require a lot more food. You require,
but here's the thing:
a lot to be protected and be
what
sheltered.
Happens in evolution a lot that you don't think about. For instance, we have so many different. Music stopped. We have so many different versions of dog, for example. Excuse me. The only reason that we have so many different types of dog and that they are surviving to modern day is because we care for all these different types of dog. But if you put all these dogs in the environment, they're like the ones that can't survive in all the different niches are going to start dying. Like you're going to have the big German shepherds or whatever that are going to be able to basically take on like a hunting thing, and maybe some will turn into like these are like almost like the cats of the woods. Like they can maybe like climb some stuff a little bit and run really fast, right? Like the only reason that they survive is because of us, because we want all the different species, all the different types. They're not really species.
Yeah.
But what
that's
I'm
tough
saying
because
is
we've actually created breeds of dogs and cats because we chose to take the lineage from this and that and mesh them together because we wanted them to be cuddlier or fluffier.
But the reason that it went to this and that, right? All these different breeds and all these different types is the same thing that happens in nature, right? We have all these different birds that can still interbreed. They're still the same species, but they're slightly different, right?
Yeah, that's starting to open another
They're
bag of
blue
worms.
jays that are slightly different, right? Like one's a little bit more purple, one's a little bit more red. It's just like
I feel
how
like you're starting to go into some of the conspiracies above. I'm not
I
sure,
know.
but
So what I'm saying is that like humans aren't all the same. We're all different, right? Some of us don't have wisdom teeth. Some of us do. Some of us don't have proper intestines. And some of us have different skin conditions.
Not the gallbladder, but what is it? The appendix. There's an organ where people for a long time were like, if we were to evolve to not have this body part, it's going to be this.
I don't know, but and what I'm saying is like there are people in like the Himalayas who are really good at breathing really high air. The same thing happened in Mexico. Those people have been apart. Like those native peoples have been separated for thousands and thousands of years, but they're still able to breed. And if we took those people, put them on a spaceship and sent them out into space with all the resources they ever needed, they would breed and like turn down the O2 a little bit by little bit over time. Those people would start to breed, and those people would eventually make people who could not breed with us, right? And they would be really good at not breathing oxygen.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They would turn into a different species, right? Now that's us forcing them to go separate, right? But what I'm saying here is that
So like going back to the Loch Ness monster, which was the whole.
Yeah, but my point was that there are a bunch of different radiating species, and the ones that are fittest will survive. The ones that will not will die. And the thing is that we do have some really old species on the planet that look really weird. We have species that we don't think about every day because we don't see pictures of them very often.
We have species that we don't even know are in existence, especially in the ocean, because there are parts of the ocean that are not explored.
In a loch, it's much less likely of that. But the thing is, like, there are leeches the size of this table. Did you know that?
Yes.
It's huge. Like, if you see a giant leech on the water, because there are leeches that big that do swim in water in Loch Ness, what do you think you're gonna think? You're gonna think, oh, the monster, right? You're gonna start citing
the way it
these
moves.
things. You're gonna start being like, oh, well, the rumors must be true. It's Loch Ness, right? You're immediately going to go to that, right? People are going to think that, like we were saying earlier, like it's a bunch of different sightings of different things and people put them together.
Often it is, yeah. If we were to actually start to dive into like a conspiracy theory that doesn't just go into seeing something that you...
Okay, so that's what I wanted to go into. So, for example, I don't know who...
Greta Thunberg is? Yeah, that's one I hadn't actually heard about.
So let's go ahead and talk about this one right here.
Sure. While you're looking it up, I think we can easily briefly cover the Elvis, Avril, and Beatles all in one, because I think that falls into fandom and not wanting to let go.
I think I agree with you. Like the Beatles one is weird because they never existed. I thought there was one where it was like they replaced.
So there's a reason I think for that, because when the Beatles came out, they were doing a few things that were very controversial in society, and their older albums were a lot cleaner, and they were, the preppy boy band of their time, very, obsessed worthy, but then they dipped into the drugs and it became a completely different group, but they were still the same people. And so I think there were a lot of fans out there, or just people in general, who decided to just claim that the Beatles didn't exist, because I think it was also some controversial government things, political things happening around that time. I'm not the greatest historian, but I think it was a matter of war-ridden times, depressive times, things that were happening in the UK. They believed that between that and the fact that the complete 180 that they did from being that preppy boy band to the drug-ridden boy band, and then also topping that off with the assassination of the drummer, I think, a lot of people, I think, just decided to say, no, they never existed. It was all just a hoax.
Like, some of these, like, it is really interesting. So this is the Beatles never existed. So one of them is these pictures. And the weirdest thing to me is that this guy looks the same. Like, okay. So what I think they're saying is that he's like replaced, right? Or like it was just a phenomenon that people like pretended to be the Beatles. But like if you're pretending to be the Beatles and you make music and you do everything that the Beatles would do, are you not the Beatles? Right? What's your... Okay. So and like this is like he got fatter. Okay. And the picture's different. Like obviously the picture's different, so you're not getting the amount of, and he could be holding his mouth in a different position. Like you're talking about minute details, and like you can see his nose literally curves exactly the same way in each one of these. Yeah. He's saying closer eyes.
His weight fluctuated for any number of reasons.
Like closer eyes, like he's wearing fucking glasses in the first one. You can't even, like, how would you be able to tell?
Yeah.
People like, are you kidding me? And he's not wearing he's wearing glasses in this one. So it's like, so he can't not wear glasses for some pictures? It could be
a difference of how hydrated he was the one day versus the next.
Exactly.
It could be a difference of...
Your skin changes.
Yeah. Weight fluctuation, his haircut makes him look different. Yeah, anything like that. My eyes look probably more sunken in than normal right now because of my level of tiredness. And that's going to be shown in a...
Yeah. Like these pictures are vastly different other than where the light's coming from. And you look at this and you can see the little cleft on his forehead right there, or like between his eyebrows. You can see it here. You can see it here. You see exactly the same thing in all three pictures. And yet people are like, this guy's different.
Completely different human being.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And then the Elvis thing was just because like there was his way of his death. I mean, I think ever since the movie came out, there's been more clarity upon how he actually died, but you had an American icon that passed away and not from good reasons, and people just didn't want to believe that about him.
Yeah, I also think like if you like, we get people all the time reenacting and denying 9/11. Same kind of thing, right? Where people are just like, they don't want to believe it. Yeah, that's above. We'll talk about it in a minute. But like people just want to believe it. They don't want to believe that this thing happened. They don't want to believe that something so monumental could happen in their lifetime, that like everything seems so perfect, right? And so like...
Yeah, so the Greta Thunberg is really easy. It's again just an image where she looks like someone in a photo from 120 years ago.
And this is like something that happens all the time. There is a photo of
I think there are a lot of actors and actresses who probably get this from time to time because they look like someone in the past.
Yeah, or like this guy. Like this happens all the time too. So you see this old timey photo. Now, first of all, you aren't even sure it's old, like, you know, but this looks like the average Joe down the street, like just some big American holding a cell phone, but you have no idea what he's holding. Now, the thing is, this could also be a completely fake photo because it looks like this is a fake.
Yeah, that looks wildly photoshopped to me.
Like there are a bunch of these that you can actually, like, you have no idea if this is a realistic photo. Also, this guy doesn't look that anachronistic, right? Like you see a camera down the street, you look up and you're like, oh, hello, right? Like I don't get, like, this guy. Okay, this is really funny because this guy looks like just some Chad down the street, right? Like some modern thing. But the reason these glasses came back into fashion, right? These types of glasses is because fashions wane and ebb and flow, right?
Flow, yeah.
And so what happens is they go out of fashion, they come into fashion. They went out of fashion after this, and they came back into fashion, and people wearing them now, and they're like, oh, that looks like some guy down the street. Like, are you kidding? Like, obviously this happens. Like, if somebody wore like apple bottom jeans, right? Like
the boots with the spurs.
Yeah, like if you wear that stuff.
But right now is a very good time to claim that because you walk into Target and you are going to see 1970s clothing. Yeah. You're going to see the flaring pants, which are stupid, people, because you walk out on any day and the weather changes to anything with precipitation involved, your pants are destroyed. But yeah, you look at these things, and my thing was with things like those glasses. Those glasses are testing the waters of shade here. When it comes to the world of fashion, a lot of it is actually meant to have a purpose for making your life better. And then there's fashion that's meant to just make you look good or be fun. And I think with the 1970s, a lot of it is just meant to be fun. And I think it's, again, related to media as well, where shows like Stranger Things come out and they're based in a different time period. And now we are modeling the fashion from those times.
Yeah.
As far as these conspiracy theories and what's hidden in there, I know there are people who really go into, well, these sequins were not even invented until this time period, and yet you're seeing a picture here where this is definitely sequins. How did this possibly happen?
How do you know it's sequins? That's the thing. It's like,
yeah, it's a photo.
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know it wasn't invented a little sooner? Or how do you know that
this person didn't find a way to take wool and compact it down and then spread it down and make it so that it had a sheer shininess to it, and then mold it in a way to make it look
how do you know? Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, when things are invented, quote unquote, you're saying that nobody could have come up with it previous to that? Like,
right.
Of course, sequins are a bad
invented
example.
means that it's, come out at a time
and where it's a common
where
knowledge.
now it's common knowledge. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, like, somebody could say, oh yeah, I like sucralose or whatever. Like, the inventor says, oh yeah, this is how it happened, and it happened in my lab on this way, and this is what happened on this date. How do you know that somebody didn't come up with it 10,000 years ago, and they just didn't, like?
I wouldn't even say that you need to stretch it as far as 10,000 years,
been,
but
100 years prior.
100
right?
years, yeah.
Like, you have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, what we know is this is when it was popularized, and we actually, like, common knowledge know about it.
Yeah,
right?
A good example is the light bulb.
Yeah.
That's what Tesla versus
Edison. Yeah, that's why we call it the Edison bulb.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's
and
the thing
now
is,
with the Elon Musk, Tesla has kind of gotten a new reign where we've learned about the benefits of it, and it's
but it has no connection with actual.
No, it doesn't.
Tesla.
It's just that
Nikola.
Tesla's name, has become more common in our society for being recognized of his scientific accomplishments. But when he was alive, he was just not as good as Edison on getting his word out.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends. Like, so the funny thing is that, see,
it's just, if you and I were to talk about the likelihood of our podcast going viral, like, could that happen someday? Sure,
I doubt
there's
it.
a possibility.
It
right.
doesn't matter to me.
No, but again, it goes to the same thing as when you're talking about things like the invention of certain fashion items, making it so that it's improbable that things like that Mike Tyson thing you came up with the
I'll show you that
photo
in here
camera.
in a second.
It's very likely that there is someone who came up with the idea of having flash photography by putting a piece of shiny material like aluminum foil in front of their camera so that they could get a little more shining light. And we still pull from methods from 50 years ago, like bringing a shining board to a photo shoot just to reflect light and give it the effect that we want. And that method's been in the works for so long. If you've worked in Science Olympiad in high school or done anything like that at all, gone to any type of club where you do those things, you would see there are some people with brilliant minds who are going to come up with wonderful ideas. And then you're going to see them down the road and think, my idea was stolen. I came up with that first. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. The reality is there were probably at least a good 100 people who had the exact same idea to do something. It was just someone actually had a way to make it marketable.
Or it's not profitable, or it's not like common knowledge or whatever.
Exactly.
And so you made a good example.
Nikola Tesla and Edison with the
so
bulbs.
Nikola came up with AC power.
Air
the power.
conditioning?
No. AC as in the electricity
Oh,
standard.
gotcha.
The
See?
stuff in our walls
Gotta
right now.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, back then he was trying to do like AC across like distances and all kinds of other things, like in air and a lot of things. But the problem is, it was pretty dangerous, and it is, right? DC is a lot less dangerous. That's why you can hold like your phone. Like, it's the only reason your phone is dangerous is because it could explode because of the battery, right? You stick your tongue in this receptacle, right, on your phone, you're not going to have a problem. You stick it on the outlet on your wall and you're going to get shocked to hell, right? So DC actually won because it was safer. And the point is, though, that at this point, now you know that AC won because AC is what we power all our houses with. The thing is here, though, that just because we power our houses, in the future, we're probably going to go back to DC because DC in small applications and with solar panels is way, way, way more efficient. Right? And so, like, it's just one of those things where, like, who actually won is kind of like a confusing mix. And but like time traveler photos, so like this boxing one, they're like, oh, 1995 a smartphone, because this kind of looks like a smartphone in this grainy ass picture. You can literally look up 1995 camcorder, and there's a white camcorder exactly like this in 1995. Like, it's like people forget what things were like back in the day. And what I mean
absolutely.
is, like, there was a picture here of anyway, there's a picture of like any picture of somebody looking down. Like, people are like, why would anybody in like previous history ever look down at their hands and like cup them like this? And they forget that like notepads existed, like flip book, like spiral bound pieces of paper that people are jotting down on with a pencil. Like, you're gonna look down and write something down. Like,
I mean,
like,
I worked in a library in a reference department where I worked with microfiche and microfilm. And how many people do you think are our age and had no idea those existed? Yeah, I was looking at our timing and I'm thinking maybe we pick one from the yellow and
go
one from the
here.
Orange and wrap this up here.
This, a lot of what we've talked about goes into like the common like thought parlance. I think people want conspiracies to be true.
Oh, they do. Absolutely. There's a market for it. There's just how much fun it entertains the day. There's so many reasons why we want conspiracy theories.
I literally can't think on that level anymore because my thing is like, is that what's most likely? No? Then I'm not going to believe this garbage. That's how I see it. And I want to believe. I want to believe time travel's true. Like, let me go back in time. I want to go back in time. I want to go see the Theodosian walls be built in Constantinople. And I want to see them get blown the fuck up. Like, that'll be awesome.
I would love to believe that essential oils cure all illnesses. That would be great.
But like,
I can tell you there would be a few family members that I would still have alive today if that was the truth.
But, and that's the thing, is like, that would be amazing. But okay, so let's go into this science denial section real quick. 5G. Do you know what 5G is?
Are we talking phone data and 5G?
Just 5G. What's your 5G? Conspiracy theory. What do you think?
I don't know.
Okay. So 5G is a type of data service on your phone.
That I know, yes.
The thing is, we came out with 3G when I was a little kid. Then we came out with 4G when I was a sort of adult. And now we have 5G. And for some reason, this turns into some big hullabaloo about it being dangerous or like spreading viruses. Like, I don't understand. Like, is it a code word? Is that what people are worried about? Are people worried that it's like, oh yeah, 5G?
Let's look it up.
Let me tell you 5G.
What's the reason why people are scared about 5G? Because is this like the oh gosh, what was that 2000s? People were concerned about the world dying.
They're saying it's bad for your health, causes COVID. What is it called?
Gives you cancer.
Yeah, like, okay. So here's the thing. Here's something that is funny. If I stuck you in that microwave and I could protect you from the heat, you would not die.
Cool.
So it's microwave radiation. That's why it's called a microwave.
Right.
Why doesn't that kill you? Do you know why that radiation wouldn't kill you?
Just because it's so minuscule?
No.
Why?
So there's something called non-ionizing radiation and ionizing radiation. Why is cancer bad for you? Your cells grow all the time. The reason cancer is bad for you, and this will go up here at some point because there is cancer stuff up here. I believe. I thought I saw something about cancer. Anyway, so what happens is your cells are doing things, and basically so radiation ionizes your cells, and when it does that, it actually ionizes the DNA, which breaks the DNA, which makes some cells die, some cells not able to reproduce, and some cells reproduce poorly. Yeah. Some cells be able to reproduce poorly, and some cells over reproduce, and that's what cancer is. The thing is, if you make a copy of a copy of a copy on a Xerox machine, right, a copier machine,
it's the exact same thing as the risk with inbreeding.
Yeah, you fuck up your DNA, and that DNA is fucked up, and now sometimes will not lead to anything bad. It'll kill the cell will die, some other cell will replace it.
It is where we know that certain people are more at risk than others for certain factors, and how you can tell in your own genes whether you're at risk more or not. So 5G giving you cancer is...
the reason that I'm talking about is because non-ionizing radiation is not able to penetrate your cells and destroy DNA.
Mm-hmm. It's not one of the forms of radiation that can cause cancer.
Can. So microwave is one of the ones that can't. So I had a friend in college who's like, hey, don't open the microwave too early or it's going to spread microwaves in his house. And I said, you know that's not ionizing, right? It can't hurt you. He's like, no, dude, that'll kill me. Like, no, it can't. It literally cannot penetrate your skin, right? Like, it's the same with like FM rate.
I remember my grandparents were like that because I believe there were something else wrong with microwaves when they were first on the market. And it was dangerous to do certain things with it. But I don't think it was because of the radiation part of it. It was just that they were not, when they were first on the market, I don't think they were as safe as they are today.
So here's the thing that people don't realize. Light is radiation. That's why UV is bad.
Right. That's why you're supposed
everything
to
to the
wear
right,
to avoid
everything to the right
cancer.
is dangerous. Everything to the left is basically not dangerous to us. Right? So, light is kind of the middle ground. The thing is, if you get to similar ultraviolet light, here's the thing, the sun puts out all. You're not looking over here? That was a chat, so I can't see if the chat comes up again. Okay. It's okay. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're the only one watching.
All of the sun puts out all light, everything in the spectrum, right? So the thing is, anything above visible light, ultraviolet and UV, ultraviolet, is going to be dangerous. X-ray, gamma ray, all that stuff. Infrared, microwave, humans, I don't know. I think that's because that's at what temperature we are. And then radio, right? Radio is all around us all the time. We have radio waves in our Wi-Fi stuff.
So where does 5G settle in on that scale?
Well, here's the thing. So if we say, what... Gee, I think it's hertz. Is it measured in hertz? I forget what it's measured.
I may have an education, but it's not in...
I mean, I don't remember exactly what it is, but 5G spectrum, blah, 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 300 gigahertz, 3 kilohertz up to 300 gigahertz. So if we look at this,
this falls into the play of don't sleep with your phone under your pillow or right under your head.
Yes, because it's the same thing. It's the same cellular. There was on here somewhere, I thought. It gets really bad when you zoom in that far. But basically what this is this stuff. And ultra low frequency. So high frequency is this stuff. It goes, it's very fast. Low frequency is down here. It's not going to hurt us. But people are like, oh yeah, this is the way they're going to make you sick because it's going to give you cancer and it's going to give you COVID. It's going to give you burns and blah, 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 blah. So but the thing is,
people they get burned on their phones when they plug them into their chargers, use them for too long, and the heat
hot. Yes.
burns them. And then people are like, well, no, it couldn't have been anything I did. It was.
Yeah, they don't blame themselves being like covering up a phone and making it really, really hot. They blame something else.
Right. That's why there's this category below that says true or false. And then it says based in truth, but false.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing is, you could stand on top of a radio emitter emitting FM waves across your country and be perfectly fine because it's not going to hurt you. It can't.
Right. I do remember when people, first came out thinking 5G is not real. It's just a way for phone companies to charge more because they felt like they couldn't prove.
It's possible.
Yeah, right? You think about the advancements and how far our phones have come from when we used 3G to where we used 5G.
Do you really need 5G? No. You don't need 5G speeds. I mean, 4G is fast enough.
Sure, but I think we can all agree that there is certainly a noticeable difference in the speed.
I don't know. I haven't really tested it. I haven't played around with it. The thing is, like, does it matter? Right? Like, do people are like, okay, let's say, here's the thing. The people that are like, hey, it's just snake oil so that they can sell you a more expensive phone. Then buy a cheaper phone. Don't give your money to Apple. Don't give your money to Samsung. Give your money to the $300 phones on Amazon that are still really good.
Right.
Like the same people sometimes, which I hate, are like, well, it's a buyer's market. So if you don't buy that thing, then it will go out of business and then you don't have to worry about it. Well, then do that. Buy with your money. Like, I don't like iPhones, so I don't buy iPhones. Period.
Yeah, you went on quite a rant with that last week.
It was so annoying.
I can only imagine you were going through hell in a handbag with work.
Okay. Quick caveat. Pause the podcast real quick. I was working on a user's phone at work, and I was making a call, and the call disappeared from the phone. And I was like, how do I get back to it? So I was swiping down, not there. Swiping up, swiping to the side. I was pressing the button, and then the call ended. And I took the phone, and it's a user's phone, one of the phones we gave them, and I tossed it in the trash. I literally tossed it in the trash. Now, I, of course, after a few minutes, picked it out of the trash. But I then made the call with my phone, which is an Android. I made it with my desk phone, because I had to do some playing around with some stuff, but I made it with both phones. 3 seconds, I was done. But it took me 15 minutes before I gave up with the iPhone and threw it in the trash. And he was getting rid of it anyway, but it was just, I was so pissed off and I wanted to throw it across the room. I was just like, why is this not simpler? Why is it that the call disappeared and I can't pull it back up in 3 seconds? Oh, it was so annoying. Yeah, that's one of my small things. Anyway, let's get.
I was gonna say I call picking the next one. I want to learn about Pizzagate.
You want to learn about Pizzagate? You don't want to talk about any of these other ones?
Sure, but I'm thinking about timing here a bit. And
okay. Well, I wanted to cover these kind of quick.
Sure.
So essential oils. There's nothing that makes them essential.
No, and in fact, they're a little bit dangerous. Be very careful if you have cats or pets in the house and you are using essential oils. A lot of them are very toxic to your pets. People deny it. It's true. Please, careful with essential oils.
You can take pine nuts or pine leaves, stick them in an oil substance, and call it pine oil. Everything is chemicals. Everything is made out of chemicals. And so if you take the chemical that makes pine what pine is, chemically derived, human derived, we made the chemical, right? We put some chemicals together, we put oxygens and hydrogens and, sulfurs and whatever. We put them all together and we made the chemical. It now smells exactly like pine needles. It's an essential oil. That is what essential oils are. It's not like somebody went to an orange and squeezed the orange and got all the smell out and all the sweetness out and all the smell is the thing that they kept, and that's the essential oil. That's not what happened.
Oh, it's just a reduction. It's just a little recipe. It's following a recipe. It's not like they just extracted all of the vitamins and minerals from it and said, now this will work. I have a hard time with this essential oils because there is some merit to them mildly improving your symptoms in certain areas. For example, eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is known to be something that does help you breathe better. It's the main derivative for Vicks VapoRub. It's the main thing that you could just hang eucalyptus in your shower, and then the steam mixing with the eucalyptus, it does allow you to breathe
But my
better.
thing is, wouldn't you rather have like an actual eucalyptus plant, or a cutting of it, or like leaves of it? Like, to me, that's way more natural.
How you choose to obtain it, I don't care if
I
you
know.
have a certain preference. But this is suggesting that it's a cure-all. It's not a cure-all, it's a symptom relief. There's a difference. As a nurse, as someone who's had an education in nursing, it's not the same. It's not. There's a difference between symptom relief and curing.
It's the same thing with over-the-counter medication.
Yeah.
Over-the-counter medication, like ibuprofen, Tylenol, the allergy medicines, they're symptom relief.
Yes.
They don't actually cure your allergies. They don't actually cure your back pain. Curing it means it fixed it. You will never have the same thing again unless the same problem occurs.
Correct.
That is what a cure is.
Yeah, it's not curing anything.
It relieves your symptoms.
Yeah, symptom relief.
Relieves your symptoms. Great.
So if you were to change this statement, it can be made true by saying essential oils are symptom.
What about essential oils is special? Nothing. The thing about essential oils is that you can get them in little jars and you can sell them really easy, and they smell like the thing you want them to smell like. And eucalyptus helps in this way. But the same way that you were talking about earlier, where if you chew gum,
okay, but there is some merit to them versus perfume.
Yeah.
Perfume truly is just the scent.
A lot of essential oils are
essential oils are more of a concentration of the actual product.
A lot of essential oils are just scents, though.
You do have to be careful for the legitimacy behind them.
But
if you actually are talking about properly manufactured essential oils, they are actually the product.
We're talking about food safe. That's what I would be talking about. Food safe is the only thing I recognize. If it's food safe, as in like FDA approved, food safe, and that's the only thing I would consider okay to use.
Right. And those are the ones that are, there's some merit that.
But the thing is, a lot of it's placebo.
Yes,
a lot of it's symptom relief. A lot of it's, this smells better. My bed feels so much better now because it smells better in my house.
Well, and there's something like peppermint. Peppermint is utilized quite heavily in hospitals because of the anti-nausea effects.
Yeah.
And because it does help you to, again, breathe better. Peppermint is known for releasing your nasal.
You walk into a house and you smell ginger and you immediately think Christmas. Right.
Sure, but also ginger is known for actually legitimately relieving stomach issues. It's very relaxing on the digestive system.
Here's the other thing, though. A 5% increase in being better, a 5% symptom relief is noticeable in some cases. But if I could give you a pill that reduces by 50%, well, that's better.
Much better.
Now, of course, the pill might cost $100 and essential oil might cost
and it's
$1.
also about being dependent on them, but that's a different category. This conspiracy is specifically about curing, and the reality is it's not curing.
You're gonna help symptoms, relieve symptoms.
It's relieving, and you are also correct. You've got to be very careful in that a lot of them are not actually the product. They're not actually being manufactured legitimately. Well, but.
We know what you're talking about. They are not authentic. The kind that would be conducive to this like healthy living life.
Right. And then they're also, you are correct that there are some that they are masking as saying actually have some relieving or curing effect.
Yeah.
And they're not doing anything. So you kind of have to be
And placebo
smart
alone
about
is
it.
a big thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of placebo involved with this. You've got to do your research because there are natural elements out there, like taking a slice of ginger to help aid in your digestion. And if taking a slice of ginger is too strong for you, you may want to make ginger tea or use a ginger essential oil. I don't think ginger is essential.
You can also make it yourself. Get some ginger, mash it up, put it in some oil.
Right,
and let it sit.
But ginger is not a good essential oil example, in my opinion, because you need to ingest it. But
Yeah.
yes.
But okay, so chemtrails, contrails, period. End of story. Chemtrails are contrails. People think they're spraying stuff on us. Okay, why? Give me a reason. If they've been doing it for 50 years, what are they doing? I don't see any changes. I don't see anything. Here's the other thing that a lot of these are about. A lot of these are about like distrust of, oh, well, autism is, I had never heard of autism when I was a kid. You know, in my farm town
I
of
recently
10
had something
people.
kind of controversial happen about my own mental health diagnosis. And I don't know why I put it in quotations because it's legitimate. It's true. I had a traumatic experience in my life, and now I have something called the fawning trauma response. And the reality is that term did not exist 20 to 30 years ago. So when I talk about it with people of that generation, I get a lot of kickback because I don't really like that term. It's not a good term. You know what? When people were my age, we called it tiptoeing. The fawning trauma response is when you are overly apologetic and there's a lot of other, you can look it up. There's a lot to it, but it's something that happens to people who've experienced a high, extreme, intense traumatic experience in their lifetime. And it doesn't happen to all. Kind of a luck of the draw, I guess. But it's something that can happen because your mind went through quite a bit. But I think a lot of times older generations don't like to admit to new medical change.
So here's another thing.
Terminology.
Here's another thing that I think is relevant. So you go, okay, let's say they're like, well, why does the term need to exist now? Right? Like, why call it that?
Yeah,
why don't you just call it?
People are just pansies.
Yeah.
ADHD is another one that runs into it. It's like, okay, yes and no.
Let's say I just said, okay, Kelly, she's such a shy girl, and you know, if you come at her a little strong, she'll get defensive. That's something that might have been said 150 years ago, right? Like, oh, she's a good, yeah, 50 years ago, right? That might have been said about you. Okay, but now that we know, like, hey, this is something that happens to a lot of people. And it happens to a lot of people because of these things. And it often occurs, you know, when this specific situation comes up. So if we give it a name, a descriptive name, then not only can Kelly go, oh, well, I can now work beyond that. I can now say, I do this when this specific thing occurs, and there's tons of people around the world that now in our interconnected age, we know about, right? There might have been something in some podunk town.
Towards, if I view it as a problem within myself that needs to be corrected, I now have the knowledge of why this is happening, and I can work towards resolving it.
It's not
due
about
to recognizing the why.
I think what people are also thinking is like, now you label yourself that, now that's going to be something that's affecting you for the rest of your life, and that you can never overcome, and that you can't even think about it. And like, you're going to use it as an excuse. I'm poor because I'm a fawner, and
that
I'm
happens
sad
to a
because I'm
lot of people with
fawner.
mental health diagnoses, like bipolarism. And
But that's not what happens.
Right.
That's not what we're trying to do. Now, there are people that take advantage of this type of stuff. They go, oh, I'm ADD, so I need to have special medication, and I'm on Medicare. There are people that do that. Do you think that's the vast majority of them? I would say no.
It's tough. I do think that we are in a very interesting time where the people who are getting diagnosed with ADHD in particular are
I think there's overdiagnosis.
Yes.
Diagnosis. There definitely is.
Yes. But the people who actually meet the requirements of fitting that definition and actually need those resources.
That was just an example too. I'm not trying to harp on anybody.
And this is coming from somebody who's had roommates that fit the category of autism and was once engaged to someone who was on the spectrum.
So here's the thing. When I say there's definitely overdiagnosis, I'm not saying, hey, 50% of everybody who's autism, they don't have autism. Fuck them. Right? I'm not saying that. No. I'm saying maybe 1%. Maybe 2% out of millions of people.
There are definitely people who disrespect the label, who overuse it, And there are definitely people,
the incorrect labels. I wasn't even talking about incorrect labels. People label themselves whatever the fuck they want, and I'm swearing, but and that's not right, right? And they'll use these terms. People will use terms to try to get sympathy. They will use terms to try to get medical leave. They will use terms. That will happen.
No, there's no way around it. But for the people who are actually on the spectrum and who need these things,
it's not a limiter. It's something that shows you this is what you have.
It's not.
This is how we can work through it because other people have been helped.
Yeah, we just watched an episode of Stargate Universe tonight where one of the characters was getting really upset. If you cannot clearly see the signs, then you are no help to me right now. Go away. I need you to clearly see the signs. Come on. Actually pay attention. The people who clearly display the signs of struggling with these matters of autism and ADHD, which are completely different things, and we know that. But if you're actually with people who struggle with these things, you can clearly see when it's legitimate. You can clearly tell when they're on the spectrum. All you have to do is actually get to know the person a little bit, and you can clearly see, and you can understand. When you meet somebody who truly has ADHD, they really struggle with hyper focus and cannot get off of that thing that they are hyper fixated on. They need to see it through, and ask them to do anything else, it's just not going to happen. And then they're seen as being unproductive or lazy or, inconsiderate, all these nasty negative things. But as soon as they are able to recognize that this is the reason they're doing something, now they're able to implement tactics like setting alarms, scheduling things in advance, and adding tips of organization. And often people who really struggle with severe ADHD, they need someone else in their lives to set these alarms and set the organization for them.
And the thing is,
and then they're amazing.
Because we have this interconnected world, we know, hey, 10 people or 10,000 people in this community have already done these things. And some of them it has helped and some has not. And for the people who has not, this has, or maybe you're a special case that this hasn't helped. And there are things we can then do. We can say, okay, you have this, somebody else has this, you are both exhibiting the same. It's the same as it's any health diagnosis. If I break your arm, I'm not going to go, oh, poor Kelly, she has a broken arm. Don't ever worry about her left arm, right? We're going to go, hey, we're going to fix that arm. Now, on 10,000 other people, we fix the arm this way. And on 10,000 other people, we fixed it this way. And it never worked again. But if we fix it this way, it did. So we're going to try that trial and error, and we're going to see what actually fixed her arm, right? We're going to go step by step. But we need to call it something, right? It's actually not even just call it a broken arm. There's special terms for it. But what I'm saying is that term, just giving you a term, doesn't mean she can't do anything about it, right? Giving somebody a term doesn't mean anything. And we went way off topic.
Yeah, we really did.
We do that a lot, and I'm sorry, everybody. But so that's the thing. So just because we come up with more and more terms for things that do exist, that maybe before people just didn't notice because you live in a town of 100 people and everybody knows everybody and everybody's half cousins or third cousins or something, and you all have the same genes, and so you all experience the same problems. Does that mean that those don't exist? No.
Just because a term is hard to hear, just because it's hard to comprehend, does not reduce the authenticity and the actuality of the progression we've made in the medical field and the industry today.
Yeah. Mental
health is a specifically very hard topic because it's harder to gather the proof and how official it actually is.
Yeah, because if I broke your arm, we could see that.
You can visually see it. It's very easy to visually see.
But if you have a complex where you want to go, hit people all the time, that's harder to know. Are you just doing it because you hate people? Are you doing it because people made you mad? Or are you doing it because you have this compulsion to hit people a lot, right?
It's very, very difficult to know. And the fact that we've learned a lot about psychology and we've dived into it, we really need to actually be more open about allowing those labels to unfold and not being afraid of them as much, because there is so much help to be had by allowing those labels to exist so that these resources are made available to people. If they are violent in nature, how can we help them to have an outlet so that they can have a very respectful place to exert that anger and perhaps allow them to be a productive part of society again because they have that outlet. Like there are ways that we can say, okay, now that we've recognized this and we've reported this issue and we know it, now let's start working on tactics for improvement. And that's the reason why we need that to exist. So if I were to pick one last one, you know which one I'm going with.
You said Pizzagate.
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, let's skip up to the next
Yeah,
level.
because I'm like so happy if anyone asks, we can totally do a part 2, especially specifically on this top half because there's a lot in that top half that we could dive in on.
Oh, this is
Wayfair. I think that's so funny.
Okay. Conspiracy theory that went viral during 2016 election cycle. Personal email account of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, was hacked in a spear phishing attack. WikiLeaks published his emails in this is got it. I think this is the like server thing with Hillary. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
I follow politics, but not.
It's kind of like connected to QAnon. White supremacist material.
I cannot read the screen because I'm on the other
I'm trying to
side.
go through it.
You guys don't see how close together we are versus far apart. I am not able to see what he is searching.
Daily Dot. Oh God. So Daily Dot, I think, is like an actual fake
So first off, I
website.
will while you're looking it up, I thought Pizzagate because when I was growing up, my sister and I created our own conspiracy regarding Chinese restaurant chains.
Oh God. Okay.
If you've noticed, in every town, Chinese restaurants all seem to have something with the word either great or panda or China. And so she and I came up with this very elaborate thing that it's the Chinese mafia's presence in America, and they separate their cult relations and their different mafia families or their different departments and categories of their mafia through the names of these Chinese restaurants. And the different operations happen in different areas based on the names. So like the China Express would be the one that's the distributor of these certain areas of the mafia. And then Panda Express would be the one that handles the delivery of other areas. But if you eliminate Express and it's just the China Garden or something like that, then their meanings don't have anything to do with distribution, and it has to deal with other different things. Like we had this, it got very elaborate. And so I was thinking that Pizzagate might have been a similar conspiracy, but related to like the pizza chains that are in every town. But it's not.
So I'm going to do the quick, the allegation. Okay. I'm not going to use that. That Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, use Comet Ping Pong Pizza Restaurant in Washington, D.C. as a front for,
a certain type of ring.
Yeah.
You can look it up if you want.
The back room was supposedly used for,
continuing of the
and napping.
Yay.
We're gonna say that stuff because I don't want this video immediately taken down by YouTube. Anyway, so this all goes into the Jeffrey Epstein thing. It goes into the QAnon conspiracies, the conspiracies about Hillary being like a devil woman or all that stuff around the 2016.
To our knowledge, this has been completely nullified and is not true, correct?
It's bullshit.
Okay.
Okay. Is anything possible? Yes.
But to the knowledge, it's been presented in front of us so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because, I mean...
It touches a lot of
unfortunately, things like this... Oh, I apologize, guys. Both just bonked the mics.
Yes,
Don't do that. But... That's a big
this stuff
one.
Really I hate because it's just like, okay,
this
people
is my
are
issue
talking
with politics in general.
Yeah.
And thankfully, in this current midterm elections period that we're in right now, we finally started talking about, are debates necessary? Should they even be allowed? Because a problem with debates is that fake news becomes heavily over dramatized. And how many times have you watched a political ad that's just an attack against the other person, and most of it is just fallacy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want the person who's leading my country, whether they win or lose. I don't want somebody who even came close enough to leading our country or state or anything, who's going to be a leader in our community. I don't want that falsified information to be projected about them because they're about to lead our country. They're about to lead our population somehow.
Like, okay, there was some stuff about like Fetterman or whatever that I saw the other day
about like his taxes or whatever.
And I'm like, okay, like if a guy is like saying he's going to change these things, but then there was one about like, oh well, he might have been talking to blah 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 blah, and I'm like,
right.
So what?
When it's completely fake with filled with mights and could have and things like that.
Yeah, or like, oh, this is an obvious ploy to do blah blah blah.
Right.
Like,
to me, it's downright dangerous. It's
stupid.
It is. It's not good for the health of the community. It's not good for.
Give me actual details and like.
Just think about even the representation of our own country in the eyes of other countries. We are falsifying our leaders with negative information about their ability to lead us because of things that they've done wrong, but it's all a lie.
I think
do we even for a moment think about the fact that other countries look at this and then just laugh at us? Because I would.
I mean, it does happen in other countries. But the thing is, like, in other countries, it's usually like you're making fun of this politician because like you have no other freaking choice, like in Belarus or something. Right? Like there is no real democracy. You have no real other parties.
I mean, it's easy to talk about and kind of poke fun at Doc Oz because Dr. Oz really did do some of the things that we're poking fun at, like tried to sell us placebo drugs. It's
literally what happened.
And diet pills. But exactly, that's the difference. Like, you and I were kids growing up watching the Doc Oz show. I know many babysitters who loved to turn him on in the middle of the day, and he really was selling these. Take this dietary pill and you'll lose all your weight.
He was literally went to like he literally had a court hearing about it. Mm-hmm. Like that happened.
So and that's my point. There's a difference between that which is speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Things about, I don't want to dive into it tonight. We could talk about another day, but Donald Trump and some of the things that he's been in the media for, a lot of it was falsified. A lot of it shouldn't have happened. He's a president. He deserves our respect, regardless of your opinions of him. Falsified information about somebody who
I have to disagree there.
I'm talking about the false stuff. I'm talking about the stuff he did not do.
Yeah, I don't care about the false stuff.
But the stuff that he did do.
The only stuff that he did or allegedly did do that we have a lot of proof for.
Right.
That stuff to me immediately makes me not respect him, no matter what.
That's my difference here. We're talking about two of our leaders who both, like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, both ran for presidency together. And this is my opinion, and I don't actually think it's that unpopular of an opinion. I don't think either of them were great candidates, personally. No. That being said, let's focus on something here. I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton is an innocent human being. She certainly had to do certain things to climb the ladder, and some of them were questionable. That being said, this Pizzagate incident, if we've not been able to prove any legitimacy behind it, to call her the things in that article that you can look up, no bueno. That's not how you should talk about somebody who's supposed to be leading our country. And that's
like if it's true, yes,
correct. As soon as it's become truth, as soon as we've gotten the
you call that person out.
Yeah, not only should you call it out, but you just put them where they belong. Put them where they belong. Get them behind the wheels. Let them serve their. They are immediately at that point, any leadership that they've had should be treated like the Sandusky trials from Penn State. And go ahead and look that up. It's related to the same thing. I know we were talking about that. I saw that.
God.
But it's like, as soon as somebody is proven for their crimes, no matter what role they had, treat them as any other civilian, get them behind bars, do the trials, get through it. Any leadership, any amount of title that they've had, their merit should no longer matter. They should be stripped of that merit and treated as a civilian and put them where they need to be to serve the term just as any other civilian should.
Not related to this, but similar. Let's say Nobel Prize winner.
Okay.
Did something heinous. 20 years down the road, right? He's already got the award.
Yeah, that's okay. That kind of leads to the same thing as the Sandusky trials, because Paterno did had a similar thing happen where he
Yeah.
lost his
Paterno.
titles and his awards.
Should that person
In my opinion,
retroactively
no.
lose those things?
In my opinion, no.
Let's say you are the people that give out the Nobel Prize.
Again,
Right.
I would say no.
You have this person sitting on your wall, a wall of everyone that's great, that's done these amazing
Okay.
things.
If I'm sitting in my office and I choose to take it down because this person 20 years later decided to do a crime, take it down.
I'm saying, let's say you are the company that like displays all these things on a wall, and you're on their website, and it has them listed as like this person won this thing.
No.
Here's my argument. My argument is you have a timeout corner. So like on the website,
If you complete a crime within 10 to 15 years upon receiving this award, we are going to strip it from you.
Not even, you don't strip the award. You put them in this box that says like, timeout, or like have committed crimes, or blah, 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 and we don't support them. Something like that, right? Like, we do not condone the actions of these people. And you put those people in that box. Like, it's just on your website or in
I
your
suppose,
in your
yeah,
shelf.
if it's made known when you are receiving the award,
hey,
that if you end up doing these things, you're going to have it
They
stripped
say,
from
hey,
you.
you won this award 20 years ago, and has nothing to do with us. But we don't condone your actions, but you still won the award 20 years ago, right? Joe Paterno, you did these amazing things, blah, 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 blah. But we do not condone the actions of what has come out. That's what you say. And then you put that on your website, and you have them in that special place that basically tells people that, like, hey, these people are shit.
Oh, so they get to keep the reward, but
Yes.
they keep the recognition, but now they're moved from that wall to a different area that's in a box saying, hey, they got moved here because they did some things after they were awarded.
Yeah.
I can
like-
I can get on board with that.
It's like if you do a
Because I
marathon,
did not.
and 5 years from now you murder somebody,
What happened?
right? Like, let's say you got first place on. Yeah, right. You got first place in something in like the Boston Marathon,
Woo! I'm that good.
right? Like, let's say that happened.
Sure.
You kill somebody 5 years later. Are they gonna like strip you of your title? Is that fair? Like, you still did it.
Yeah. I don't know, because there've been a lot of athletes who've
title-
had similar things happen to
the
them,
title
thinking
isn't a
like
moral
Lance
thing.
Armstrong and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
The title isn't a moral thing. The title is you achieved that.
Yeah. And
It
it's
is
always a
history.
huge controversy every single time we have an incident like this happen. And my opinion is they've done that physical achievement. They've done that intelligent achievement. They've reached that milestone. We recognize it for what it is. If it was clearly after that time and not during.
That's where Joe Paterno for me really is, because it was like during his like actual, like, he could have been winning a championship during some of these things.
Yeah, that's
and
a
I'm
tough
just
one
like,
for perhaps
that's
another
disgusting.
one. I kind of at least. I was, my family bleeds blue and white, right?
I know.
And
And
so
my grandmother does too. You know that.
on every Penn State campus, for those of you who are not from Penn State, you can look it up. There's, I think, 22 campuses. There was always a Paterno shrine in every single one of them. And when that fell down, I was in college. I was at Penn State. And it's tough
Yeah.
because we still to this day, especially since
You
he
idolize
passed away,
people.
well, it killed him.
It's the same thing about.
It's
It's the
idolization.
same thing.
Yes, but here's the thing:
We just realized this.
we don't know what Paterno knew.
Yeah, we
That's
don't know.
the reason
that's
for
the thing.
like. So here, that's the thing.
Do we? So
I don't know
on
how
the
much
stat
experience
below-
you've had, but I have led a group before, and anytime you are a leader and you delegate tasks, there are certain types of leaders who delegate differently. And when you are a head coach and you are delegating to an assistant coach on that scale, you are trusting that coach to know and be reputable, and you just let them do their job.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on a lot of things, and this is why, like, to me, it's like, okay,
I'm
do you-
not
do you-
suggesting
do you go below
that
every
he was
single
innocent.
You go below every single statue, and you go and you chisel in, like,
Right,
may
but
have
he's-
condoned blah 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 blah.
There's
Like,
just no
do you
way that
chisel that
Paterno was a
in?
micromanager. He wasn't. You cannot micromanage and be as successful as he was.
This is my thing. That's hearsay. You're guessing.
But again, exactly.
We're all guessing.
Exactly.
That's
We
the
are
thing.
all. And it's because, again, it's kind of a guess, but kind of also a no. It killed him. Paterno died
when you're that
because,
old,
yeah, it broke his heart.
So,
And so it's one of those things that it's highly controversial. I don't want to say that I condoned his behaviors. What I will say
that's
is,
why you say you
in
don't
the
condone
moment,
his behaviors.
correct.
Period.
And in that moment, if I were to have known, or if he were to openly admit that he had any knowledge of what was happening behind scenes,
You would immediately discredit him. As a
and
as a good
because it was
person, yeah.
during the time that he
Yeah.
was receiving these accolades, yes, as soon as it's something where it was happening at the time the accolades were being awarded, I agree with the decision to strip him.
And what we're getting down here is evidence.
Evidence.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's hard to get evidence in some cases.
It is a
like,
good way to tie it all back in together. Yeah, evidence really is what
we can prove what
all of
5G signal does. We can prove what is in the air.
we can prove that the
under-
Holocaust happened, people, okay?
Yeah, you can. No,
Jeez.
is it possible that all of these things are set up in some grand, and that's what it says here, the world ruled by supreme shadow elites. Once you believe, you're usually lost. So is it possible that some grand cabal like put together like the scale of radiation, and actually they're all dangerous for you, and all the chemicals that they're pumping into the air are making you sicker, and it's causing you to have problems, and you don't trust
Get your point.
vaccines? And is it possible that all these things are true? Or technically, there's always a chance of these things happening. Does that mean that it is? Is that the most likely? We talked about this. Is it up here?
Right.
Or is it
Because in
like-
order for the Holocaust to have not actually happened, in order for any of what we've talked about to not have been,
Let's clarify that. Holocaust not having as in like a cabal, a section of a
The-
government. No,
this is saying it's
Yeah.
been denied.
a section
Denied.
of a government of a country murdered tons and tons and tons of people, and specifically,
Millions.
and specifically pointed out a specific religious group, and
Try to complete
specifically
genocide.
Try to genocide them.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about like, hey, Nazis made it legal to kill these people, so it's okay. So
No, it's
Holocaust
talking
didn't
about
exist.
the full.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter what if they said, oh, it was okay.
And I think this stems from certain German citizens in certain areas of Germany that still struggle today with the fact that there's been a negative impact that's long lasted on how they've been
Okay.
treated due to the fact of that
Yes,
historical event
true.
happening.
Now, here's the thing.
And so it's just
Germany-
sometimes easier to deny the reality of what happened because of the ostracizing that occurred to them.
Here's the thing. Germany, a lot of people in Germany, like you put up a Nazi flag and you are immediately like ostracized from the community. They will
Precisely.
rip that ship down. They are like, screw
Precisely.
you, get the fuck out of here. Like they hate anything related to these people, and they're like, you do not idolize these people, you don't think about these people, these are not good people, we do not want that in our country. That is how they treat it, and to me that's how you should treat these kind of people. You should ostracize people that are bad in these ways, and this is also goes to a moral component, right? What is it?
We are
okay.
starting to dive into another
I
topic,
know, and I
though,
wanna
and
talk
we're
about
trying
this
to
real
wrap up,
quick.
but okay.
So let's say my country,
Is of the sorry.
there's two countries. In my country, I approve of weed. I say, hey, I make it legal that weed can be smoked. Crosses the border into your country, you say no, it is bad, get it out of here.
Okay.
Now, I could say down the road we have some kind of fat, and in the future, people are like, oh, well, your country denied weed as ever being existed, because, or not existed, but like being, my country
Legalized
denied
or whatever.
it being like there's no such thing as the weed cost thing. It's complete denial. I'm denying that weed was ever a problem because we made it legal, right? That's not a morally repugnant question, right? Weed is not a thing that people talk about and like, you know, that really matters. But if I talk about like genociding a community, if I say I genocided this whole community and I made it illegal to genocide the whole community, so it's okay.
I see your point, but I think it was personally a
I
poor
said it
example
wrong.
because
I said it wrong.
there have been millions of people who've been affected by weed and the legalization of it versus whether or not it should, especially right now where we have a president who's trying to make the misdemeanor.
I'm not talking about like
people's lives.
I'm talking about a moral question.
We've probably lost just about as many people's lives to the battle of weed. I think you can look up the estimates. It's in the millions now.
So what I'm talking about is something that almost everybody agrees. Genociding a people.
Genociding a people is certainly a lot worse than the deaths associated with illegal drug distribution. But I don't know because
it's something that more people can agree on.
True, because here's the difference. The people who died in the Holocaust, they did not necessarily do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. But, they just existed.
But the people that killed them didn't either because, you know, the Nazis said it was legal. So blah, 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 right? That's the thing. But everybody else in the world said it is bad. This is bad. Right.
Whereas there's some controversy between one country says it's bad, the other country says it's good.
Yeah.
Death in general.
Morally, it is bad. I don't care who you are. If you do not think that is bad, killing of other people in a massive way.
Yeah, we can all agree murder is
then you are wrong. Objectively, morally, and every other way there is. You are wrong and bad.
Correct. Murder is wrong. Clear.
Well, in that way, right? You can murder
because there's like the controversy of murder in self-defense.
Or other ways, yeah. But I'm just saying, in that specific case, you are wrong and it is objective. Everybody will agree with me, except for psychopaths and people like you that is bad like you, if you agree with that. And
he's using you figuratively, not actually
not
Kelly.
On the camera, not Kelly. But that's the thing that everybody can get on board with, right?
Right.
And that's when you go, okay, it doesn't matter if the country made it legal. It doesn't matter if the country made it legal and I disagree, right? What matters is every single person in hindsight will say, it is bad. This should not have happened morally. Because in 300 years, everybody might go, hey, it's okay. Because
yeah, I mean, and it's one of those delicate things of how long does it take before history becomes a thing in the past where we no longer believe in its existence? Because you can deny the Romans, you can deny the Spartans, you can deny things like that. But it's interesting to me that often, if we were to go back, do you think that the people who are denying the Holocaust would deny those pieces of history?
I think people that are up here, like it says, is you're too deep, and you literally will believe anything anybody tells you that's like not evidenced.
Perhaps.
Like there are people who say Rome didn't exist.
But that's exactly my point.
It's a white supremacist
and I think that's like
cabal.
Stems to the importance of research and education and what needs to be part of the education in public schooling, where we do our best to ensure that all get that level of education versus what's okay to not have education on.
Here's the funny thing.
Because the Holocaust is something that we need to not forget about, right?
So here's the thing. Is it possible, like people say, what is evidence? Because if I look up online, I can find evidence on almost anything. I can find evidence for all these things. Evidence, right? What is evidence?
Ooh.
Evidence and fact, truth, is something that can be proven again and again and again. Is testable, is repeatable, it is repeatable under the same conditions, it is testable in the same conditions, and you can tell, like, hey, I might call, like for example, the light spectrum.
Right, because evidence over time will diminish because you lose a lot of those control factors.
I can look up.
It's difficult to keep
what
proving it.
this is, but I could go into Photoshop and I can move all these things around. I could move these back and forth, and you would never know the difference, right? And you could look at this 10 years later and be like, oh, hey, this is over there and that's over there, and okay, so that means microwaves are good, right? Is that evidence? No. What is evidence? This is a diagram showing what we know. It doesn't mean that this piece here is evidence. What it means is if I get a something can detect frequencies and wavelengths, right? I don't know what would detect all of them, but anyway, if I do that, I will see that at this specific band, this thing happens with this piece of light. These are all light, all these wavelengths, right?
Right.
This band in the microwave section, it'll heat things up. In this band in the AM section, it'll fuck with AM rays, AM.
Dirty mouth stuff. You have.
And it will, if you do IR, now I can see you in the dark, and this type of stuff. You can test that.
Right. We can get the correct equipment in here to test these and prove it.
And now you could say, okay, microwaves aren't microwaves. I'm going to call them heat waves, and I'm going to call infrared. I'm going to call that
all
dark
of what
red.
We've gone over has evidence to prove, and you specifically may never touch that evidence, but we know it exists.
Yeah.
And that is where
just because I didn't touch it doesn't mean that there's no evidence.
Right.
Because if you go by that, then how do you know that your car is going to start tomorrow? How do you know your car's outside? If you're not currently touching your car, you don't. But you have to admit that, it's very likely your car is outside.
I remember the first time you gave me that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's true. How do you know I'm actually sitting in a chair right now? You are not here to touch it. You see it. Otherwise, you have no other information.
She might be squatting. She's got powerful calves.
Yeah. My calves.
Your glutes and all that. Yeah. This thing is, evidence is something that can be tested and repeatable. And of course, in court cases, the thing is, court is, depending on if it's civil or legal, is a different standard.
The difference between circumstantial evidence versus.
But circumstantial still matters. What I'm saying is, in civil court, I think it's just you got to prove you're 51% sure. And I think in legal court, you need to be 90% sure, right? To convict someone, the court needs to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you did this thing. In a civil,
take your word for it. I don't know. I don't have the numbers to have the evidence to match it.
But if they can say, okay, it's very likely that Kelly did something in her marriage or my marriage or whatever. If I was married and I wanted to get a divorce, they could, if they prove Alex is the cause of this marriage most likely by 51%, then I'm the one that's technically the defendant, right? I'm the one that loses because it's very likely that I did something wrong. Whatever.
You're going again on another topic entirely. Yeah. Point is, evidence can be had, and if evidence can be had
and tested
and controlled and repeated, you do have to eventually, at some point, do the research for yourself and find it and say, okay,
it also connects all the facts. So here's the thing about flat Earth. I can take a level, I can put it on a plane, I can put it here, I can put it whatever, and I can test. Yes. That the level is always level. But a level, that just because you can prove that a level does that, doesn't mean that it also connects with everything else, right? So then I can say, oh, well, water always finds its level. You pour water down and it always goes flat. And I could say all these other flat earther, oh, the moon is just a spotlight and blah, blah, blah. The thing is, all of these different things that people talk about, the times, the period, the seasons, all this stuff, with flat earth specifically, they all disconnected. None of them would work together in the same world. Everything that people try to prove, that the way we see things, they're all different. What? Yeah. They're all different things that have different evidences that then when you put them all together, it's like, well, okay, well, the moon thing goes against the season thing, and the level thing goes against the buoyancy thing, and like all these different things don't mesh. They all have to mesh, and the real world, real facts, real evidence meshes for the most part. Like for like 95% of all the facts you can find in the world, they mesh, right? My microwave doesn't kill me because it's on the spectrum that part of that doesn't hurt me. FM waves don't hurt me, right? That's what I'm saying. It's
in my head right now.
The theory has to mesh.
Okay. Yes.
Everything about it, all the evidence has to mesh together. And if it doesn't mesh together quite right, then why would you... Again, that's what I'm talking about, facts, like the level. Again, that's why I try to use the level as like an example. It doesn't comport to the rest of flat Earth theory, right? Or theory. Anyway, I've got off into a few tangents here.
You did. And I love you, but any other closing statements, or do you think we're ready to wrap this one up? Let us know if you think we should have a part 2.
Yeah, we've been going on for a while.
I let him jibber jabber today.
I apologize. I also know a lot more about most of these because I'm interested in...
Admittedly, when I knew we were doing conspiracy theories, I knew you were the one who needed to be the point in planning this. Yeah, but I think it's still, there was a lot of information to be had. It was a fun conversation, and the point is you and I really like to dive deep into topics like this, and that's why we like to do this.
Yeah.
It's still fun, no matter what. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this if you actually stayed until the end. And thank you for listening in on Introverts You Can Trust.
Introverts. I love that name, by the way.
No, IYCT. IYCT.
Yeah, IYCT. And we will be back probably next month in a few
Yeah, we're
weeks,
really
maybe.
going to try. We're trying to do one a month. We're going to see how that goes.
Now on, so. Okay, everyone. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining in, and we're going to see you all next time, okay?
Bye.
All right. Bye.